Good 5 minutes. Hey, this is what I know, and I know that we've done a couple of commercials, and we're going to even talk more about Encounter Conference later. But there's more content today than ever. Like, we are in a content-rich society. Again, jokingly, but like ChatGPT's content, Now, again, maybe that's a question we could talk. Like, you can use ChatGPT, but understand ChatGPT doesn't have discernment and the Holy Spirit. So my hack with ChatGPT is I use it to write small group questions. Give me 3 small group questions about Peter stepping out of the boat. It'll fire them off. That you can rewrite them. It just helps, little things like that. So content rich. I told you about, like, there's certain ministry networks that have like sermon resources. I've told you about 2 of them today. There's all these so much content. I'm fine. The YouTubes, content. But what we need is community. And that's what this is today. So first off, I'm proud of you for waking up and scraping off your windows or whatever you had to do. It's 7 degrees this morning to get here. But understand, like here with the team with Encounter Conference, like, this network is important. This is your network. So even my commercial about, like, hey, if you want coaching, like, that's cool. That's how I'm like, for me, that's a part of how I live my life. That's like my ministry, everything. But even that is Zoom, which is effective. But this right here, life on life, shoulder to shoulder, David and Jonathan and his armor bearer, living with a perhaps, like, that happens in settings like this. And so just know, man, lean into this network. It's cool because there's different doctrine distinctives in this room. There's different church backgrounds, but we're on the same team, Team Jesus, and we're doing everything we can to reach Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And so I just wanted to help you understand the importance of what Ben and this team is wanting to do. This is what I've learned. There's a certain grace is required to create this space. Because, like, I've been in communities that have horrible youth pastor networks. And then one person will rise up and be like, hey, you guys want to grab breakfast? Oh, cool. And this ministry and this church wants to be that space that goes, let's do this together. Refuse to do life alone. I think Alyssa said it best. The enemy can take the greatest leaders out when they're isolated. Even a lion, and get some hyenas can take a lion out when it's isolated. So we need someone to cover our 6. We need someone to be in our life, as it says in Ecclesiastes. We're only stronger when we're together. And actually, that Ecclesiastes verse, besides the one part about staying warm together, it's mostly about battle. It's very much, it's Forrest Gump and Bubba. Let's put our backs up against each other so our heads won't get in the mud. Like, that's like that togetherness. So I just wanted to reiterate, proud of you for being here. Hopefully you feel that you're not alone. Even some of the funny, silly stories, you're not alone. But there's also, God works in relationship. His Spirit works in this. So commercial over, not really commercial, more of a challenge. Don't walk away from this and when the emails and the texts are sent to you, be like, oh, man, I don't need that. No, you need it. Move stuff on your calendar. And I know some of you had to do that today. And you had probably maybe an off day yesterday. Then to take half your day today, it's putting you behind. But can I tell you, it's actually not putting you behind. It's putting you ahead. And it's the youth pastors and leaders that don't value these things find themselves in isolation. And isolation is a playground for temptation. And when you're living that life, it's dangerous. So, better together, right? We're better what? We're better? All right, sweet. That's the coach inside of me. Hey, questions. How long do we have? A few minutes before the food's too cold or whatever we're eating? 20 minutes. Wow, so much time. I'll tell you this. Short questions, long responses for me. I will do my best. I don't have all the answers. I've just been doing this a long time. Andy Stanley years ago said, I'm not the expert in the room. I just got here first. However we can help you. Anything I said today, they're like, hey, can you go a little deeper on that? Or if you're like, hey, random question, I'm cool with those 2. Ready? Go. We have 2 mic handlers. They're ready. Oh, then they deferred to each other.
So, like, random question. whenever you're like needing maybe a refresh in ministry, what is something that you would do, whether it's small, whether it's big, whatever,
Yeah.
that, to help you find joy in what you're doing again?
Ooh, great question. Out the box. I think for years, I did a horrible job of practicing the Sabbath. Isn't it interesting that if you break 9 out of the 10 commandments, you'll get fired? But if you break the Sabbath, you get a raise? Even what can happen sometimes, because the way I talk and communicate, it's very much, I'm a pastor, a coach. Like that's, so if you were to look at your notes, you heard a lot of like, it takes work, keep going, don't give up. Like it kind of has like fourth quarter, it's just naturally who I am. Hopefully that inspires some of you as well. But at the same time, you're just like, dude, I feel like I am working hard. Man, I'm tired. And when you're tired, you're tempted. Charles Spurgeon said, when fatigue walks in, faith walks out. And so finding your rhythm of rest is so important. And understanding youth ministry is hard. I had to learn early on, I would compare myself to other other ministries, not youth ministry, other ministries in the church. Have you ever said this? No one works as hard as us. Anybody? Yes, I have. Because you're like, well, the discipleship pastor, I don't even like, he's not the game on Friday night. You know, the kids pastor, which kids pastors work extremely hard, but it's like they're like what I realized. Wait, the ministry I'm called to is just a more active group of people. So whoever's running the senior adult ministry, they have like their potluck once a month, and they're like there is ministry required. They're having to do a lot of funerals, but the thing is, youth ministry, we are moving with the most active group of people. So you have to understand rhythms of rest. And how you do that is when you look at your calendar, because I can look at my calendar and go, oh, summer's coming. I always say from January to August is like one season. Because like you're getting ready, you're building disciples, but you're also like, hey, come to encounter, come to camp, come to retreat, do this. And then you're like, mission trip. And it's like all those things. But for me, it's like knowing when, okay, I'm taking vacation then. Now, vacation doesn't mean rest, but it's figuring out those spaces that you can talk about and communicate to go, hey, I'm going to run. If you've ever, I remember doing like this boot camp running thing, and it would be like, I just need to run to that mailbox, and then I'll walk to the next one. I just need to, and so you have to set some of those goals of rhythm of rest. So rhythms of rest is one. The other thing is this, it says, and again, I don't know where you guys are theologically on this, so I'm just going to tell you my life. Paul talks about when you pray in the Spirit that it edifies yourself and builds you up. So sometimes you just need to turn the music off and just pray in your prayer language on your way to work. Because what's it do? It builds you up. But also, it's learning, hey, I'm doom scrolling. It's being aware. And I think the other thing that helps you get refreshed is having people, like, inviting others to speak into your life. Because have you ever seen, like, if you're close, like for my wife, I'm like, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? Why can I ask that question? Because I've been doing life with her for 20-something years. And I can tell, so who's the people you're inviting into your life to be like, hey, I think we need to call time out. When my girls got older, they even helped me. Like my older daughter was texting me one time, like, hey, Dad, I think you might need to take Mom on a date. I'm like, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. And then it's knowing, too, like my wife lost her best friend to cancer 5 years ago. I have it on my calendar. If you've read the book, How the Body Keeps Score, every year around November, my wife just like will fall into like this funk. And I realized year one, this when Heather passed away. And so I now buy her flowers. I text our girls, by the way, mom's, without her even knowing it, is going to get a little, like her body's going to be. And so what I mean by that is I'm close enough to her and I know her. So you need to allow other people in your life to make sure that they can help you call time out when you need to. But man, read your Bible, pray, all those things. Isn't it funny? It's the things that we tell students that we kind of tend to and then find that rhythm of rest. I actually did a paper. I went back to school in 2020 and got my master's degree and actually wrote a paper on the theology of the Sabbath because I realized I never had a pastor. All my years in ministry, I never had a pastor like, hey, how was your Sabbath? So for you to create a culture of Sabbath, you have to lead that culture. You can't model what you don't multiply. and let people know, hey, family or everybody else, hey, my phone's gonna be off. I've been in Jerusalem and actually went through a Shabbat. Like the idea, like in Jerusalem, dude straight up put their phones away for 24 hours. They disconnect. And in that room, the father of the house sang over his wife and his kids. I leaned over to the guy and I was like, what would America look like if men sang over their wives and their kids and they served? Like, it was just beautiful. And I just think we have to figure out ways to find that refresh. All right, told you, long answer, short question. That's legit. That's for reals, right here. Sure, I don't know. They got to hustle. They're deferring. They're like you, me. All right, we'll cut the room in half. You get that half. You get that half. We got it.
So question is, you talked about like multiplication, the processes and systems, and growing leaders, and I want to know what does your multiplication process or system structure look like for getting leaders?
Yeah, it was funny. The talk that I actually ended up not doing, it was just too much. It was too much content. I already shared too much content today, but creating that, what I would call like your leadership ecosystem or your leadership pipeline is so crucial. So if I was like draw it for you, it would be like, you have to recruit leaders. Well, how do we recruit them? Well, the number one place to recruit them is on Sundays. Like, who's in your lobby? You're like, dude, do they? And you listen, walk up and say, hey, man, are you serving anywhere? Like, there's some churches have like growth tracks or things like that. So you put together kind of the dots if you wanted to. So the first thing you have to do is create those dots. So it's like, okay, the first thing is like we have to recruit leaders. What are we looking for? And Sam Chang years ago talked about like a preferred job profile. So, hey, what leaders do I need? Well, I need some more dude leaders. When I worked at People's Church, it was majority black church. So it was like 60, 70% black. We were literally like would identify, I need more white male leaders, which was so funny. But seriously, so I meet some dude, so I know what I'm looking for. If you know that you're looking for a guitar player, when someone says they play guitar, you're like, wait, I'm looking for a guitar player. I found you. And so I think first it's like recruiting. What are we looking for? And then calling them to something great. A friend of mine, Will Perry, he former intern of mine too, and he talked about that he went to these dads of sixth grade girls. He's like, hey, dads, know you're nervous. Sixth grade girls coming to the youth ministry. You know what? They're probably going to end up dating or liking some boys in this youth ministry. Would you think about being a sixth grade boys small group leader?